Is an 0-3 start really the end of the world for the Rams? This is RamView.
Headline.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the September 5th, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. KistlerLawFirm.com, that's one word. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. Rams news, and it's all back. It is Cup-centric. I started the last show on Friday with, does the offense need to be Cup-centric? And over the weekend, everything has been Cooper Kupp-centric. But it's time to talk about Cooper Kupp and the start of the season. And I'm just amazed. I didn't do a show yesterday because it was a holiday, so I'm squeezing in a special Tuesday show. I don't generally do Tuesdays or Thursdays. It's usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but because of the holiday, we're squeezing this one in. So I caught up on some of the Rams podcasts, and there's some really good ones out there, really good ones. And then there's some you just wonder, what are they listening to? And I have to say this, just in regards to the start of the season in Cup. If you're a Rams fan who has paid attention, looked at the schedule they are playing the first month of the season, and have not come to the conclusion that this team could easily start off 0-3, then you've spent too much time listening to the wrong people. And that's 0-3 with Cooper Kupp, right? You got to figure this team is going in Seattle, Frisco, anywhere, and then they're going to face a Joe Burrow-led team on a national stage at Cincy, right? If they can eke out a win in any of those games, I'm going to tell you right now, if the Rams eke out a win in any of their first three games, if they stay healthy thereafter, they're going to the playoffs, right? We've completely underestimated this team if they get a win in any of these games or compete in two of the losses there. If they lose all three, it's what was expected, and it doesn't mean the season is over. The determinant for the 2023 season for the Rams isn't weeks 1, 2, and 3. The determinant for the season for the Rams is Indy and Lucas Oil in week 4. That's the game they have to win. And I'll share with you, after that, they're going to lose to Philly. They're going to lose to Pittsburgh, and they'll beat Arizona. And after 7 games, they'll be 2-5, and everyone's going to say tank. Everyone's going to say, let's walk away. But that's when things will start to change. They'll probably lose in Dallas, and I think they're on line to win that game in Lambeau against Jordan Love and a young Packer offense and an aging Packer defense. I think they have a window to win there, and I think this team is going to catch fire on the back half of the season. Right after the Week 10 bye, opportunity is going to present itself, right, against the schedule they're going to play. The young players will have had time to develop and settle in, and we'll know what the team's needs are going to be going forward. But if I'm going to sit Kupp against Seattle, right, and odds are I was going to lose that game if I had Kupp. I mean, you got to lean Seattle in this game. If I'm going to sit Kupp against Seattle, I'm not going to be in any rush to get him back against Frisco and Cincy. Why? Why would I do that? It's a hamstring, right? I think if you want to be competitive, if you don't want to be, if you want to be competitive for the rest of the season, you need to go slow with Cooper Kupp. We talked about this on Friday. Go slow. Let him sit out this game. Let him sit out a couple of games because these first 3 games are doozies, right? They're heavy hitting games. They got no help from the NFL. They had the toughest schedule last year, and I think they got one of the toughest starts this year, especially considering the youth of their team. And my feeling is if you don't want to be competitive, then trade Donald, Kupp, and Stafford ASAP, right? But the truth is you can't do that in Los Angeles. You can't do that now. That reeks of too much Anaheim and Georgia and St. Louis and and that gross experience that ruined the Rams for over 30 years. No, what the Rams are in Los Angeles is a competitive team. Kroenke's not going to put up with that. He's proved it with his checkbook, and it's not in the McSneed DNA, right? This is a hamstring for Cooper Kupp, right? Short of rest, there's not much you can do. Take it for somebody who lived through the 1989 NBA Finals when the Lakers three-peat, which was on track, was derailed by hamstring injuries to both Byron Scott and Magic Johnson. Scott before the final series, Magic Johnson in game one. You just need rest, as much rest as possible. And I'd much rather have Cooper Kupp on the back half of the season when the team is playing better and maybe competing in a weak NFC, because I think it's there. I think low end for the Rams is 7 wins. I definitely think they could get to that 9-win spot, and with a couple of miracles, go to that 10-win spot, right? So if you're going to go 0-3, even if you had Kupp, the Rams just need to chill, and Ram fans need to chill and look to Indy, a nice indoor environment to break Kupp in 2023. And again, Indy is the game you have to win. That's the game. 0-4, and then we're having a different discussion, I think. 0-3, it's not that big of a deal. 1-3, okay, we're on track. This young team is going to need time to get hit a few times, get knocked down a few times, and then it should find itself in the back half of the season. And let me address another thing here at the top of the show. Let me address another thing. The offense, and this is going to be heresy. I know what you're going to say. Please don't tune me out. But the offense doesn't run through Cooper Kupp. I love Cooper Kupp. I'm not slamming Cooper Kupp. I think if my brother had 2 sons, he'd name one Cooper and he'd name the other one Kupp. I totally get how everyone loves Cooper Kupp. He is great. I love Cooper Kupp, okay? But this offense doesn't run through Cooper Kupp. It just doesn't, right? The offense runs through Matthew Stafford. He touches the ball on every play. And if his arm is healthy, and if the offensive line can keep him upright and provide a competent running game, right? Offensive line keeping him upright, okay? His arm is healthy and a competent, not a great running game. With Sean McVay directing, this team will be in solid shape. This team, it'll be better with Cooper Kupp, but this is a team that can compete because he's a quarterback that will raise other players, raise other people. He's never had a Sean McVay in Detroit, right? Yeah, he had Megatron, he had Calvin Johnson, but he's never had this kind of what I would say franchise around him. And we saw what he did in his first year. Last year was an anomaly. It was an abbreviation. It was something that just doesn't happen. And the whole offensive line went down. And so the truth is, this is a team that can compete, even if Kupp is on the sidelines for a while, right? The stupid talk that's kind of generating in and around. Thank you, Tim Burns. The stupid talk that's generating around all the different places on the internet is you don't want to win 7 or 8 games because then you're right in the middle of the pack, right? And you won't be able to draft the players you want. You want to win 10 or 11 to compete, or just 2 or 3 and get close to that number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. But here's the deal. The NFL draft is not the NBA draft, right? In the NBA draft, it's true. There are only about 3, 2, 4 playmakers in that entire draft that you can take that'll change your franchise. Sometimes only 1, right? And sometimes none, right? But in the NFL draft, you can hit a home run with any pick at any moment. The Rams hit a home run with Aaron Donald at number 14 overall. They hit a home run in the 3rd round with Cooper Kupp. You can do this. They're getting production out of 7th round, 251 Ben Skoranek, right? You can hit a home run in any round. So this idea of, well, you want to make sure you don't win 7 or 8 games and be in the middle of the pack in the draft, it's ridiculous. It's preposterous, right? Why would a team with Aaron Donald, who was in the back half of his career, right, and a productive, high caliber quarterback like Matthew Stafford, who has a very friendly contract, and a productive, but although we're starting to see some mileage build up on Cooper Kupp, but still an excellent receiver. Why would they want to tank a season, right, and go 2-3? I'm Aaron Donald, Stafford Kupp, I say trade me right now. I'm too old to play this game, right? I'm too old to just throw away a season. And the most important thing here, too, is to also consider at some point the 49ers are going to figure out their quarterback issue. And I think by next year, the Seahawks, if they stay on track, will be a legitimate contender. They will be. So the Rams still have a viable window right now. I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl team, but you know what really helps fans is when they come out, when the team they love comes out and competes every year. Just competes. We just want to see them compete. Maybe they miss the playoffs, but they still go 9-8 or 10-7. And this team is capable of that. And here's a final add to this whole opening here. You want a quarterback, right? Because that's what everyone's thinking about because they got a number 1 pick next year. Well, just hold on to the first round pick if I'm the Rams, right? Just hold on to the first round pick. You may not land Caleb Williams, but if you saw college football this weekend, you saw a lot of scary good NFL quarterbacks. I don't think you saw the quarterbacks at Florida State or LSU and think they're great because I don't, but there's a lot of scary good quarterbacks out there, and someone's going to be available. There's going to be a spectacular player out there for the Rams, right? So I do see a scenario where, and it's not serious enough to get into it right now, where I could see the Rams dealing a number 1 pick. I could. And I'll tell you about it maybe before the show is over. I'm blitzing through this because there's a lot of stuff I want to get into tomorrow and stuff, and I'm kind of off on an odd day. I thank you for the audience there. If you're there, guys, say hi. I'd love to say hi back to you. I thank you for your support and such. Okay, let's just look around the NFL. I posted this on Friday. Think about who's still out there. Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt, Jarvis Landry, Matthew Stafford's former teammate at Detroit, Kenny Golladay. And again, if there's something where the Rams do decide that Kupp's going to go down for a month and we're just not going to mess with him, why wouldn't a Jarvis Landry or Kenny Golladay be somebody they consider just to bolster that room if they want to come at a reasonable price? I think Jarvis Landry can still play a little bit. He's not a number 1 anymore, but I would definitely use him because of his experience, and he's an all-around player. Just something to think about. So far, no Nick Bosa for the 49ers. Right now, I'm reading that George Kittle is banged up. And I'm going to say this to Steeler fan Rob in Missouri. Bro, if your team blows it against the 49ers opening day, I am going to just tear you a new one from now until January. You come in here with all your Steeler talk. Well, the Steelers better blow out the 49ers on opening day. If you botch that game, boy, you're never going to hear the end of it. I don't want to hear your we got 6 Super Bowls. You don't have a 6th Super Bowl in the last 2 decades, okay? So do me a favor, right? Or a decade and a half, right? Do me a favor. Keep your mouth shut if the Steelers don't beat the 49ers. Nick Bosa, likely, it's kind of shaky he's going to be there. George Kittle's got issues. We're seeing the second go-around with Brock Purdy. Yeah, you better beat them. You better, okay? The Chiefs are not going to have Chris Jones unless something miracle happens in the next 48 hours, which is unbelievable. I'm excited because I got Jahmyr Gibbs of the Lions in one of my fantasy leagues. And so I'd really start leaning towards Detroit just a little bit where I think the Chiefs can score. We know that. But Travis Kelce is banged up a little bit too, I heard. There's stuff going on there where there's an opening for Detroit to shock the world on Thursday night. Either way, I'm excited. Working around the NFL, Cole Beasley moved to the practice squad IR. Kyle Rudolph, the Vikings tight end, officially retires. Hey, the Vikings signed N'Keal Harry to the practice squad, that former first-round pick of the Patriots who can't seem to find a home. Former Oregon quarterback Anthony Brown still on the yo-yo string with the Ravens. He got cut. And then the Rams made a couple of cuts. Yesterday, it was Rashad Torrence. He was cut off the IR. He was released injured. And then Sean Jolly, which we knew something was up. He was released injured today, just a little while ago. We knew when Duke Shelley was signed, somebody was probably hurt. Somebody was hobbled. I thought it was Darian Kendrick because we hadn't seen much of him. We hadn't had many updates on him. But it turns out it was Sean Jolly. Jolly, I was surprised, had made the team. I thought they would stick with Robert Rochelle. I mean, they did give Bobby Evans 4 years. I thought they'd give a third year to Robert Rochelle, but I digress. Okay, working through, I am not doing a Kistler Law question of the day because this is a special show. Now you see what I'm saying. Compete. Oh, boy. Yeah, Sorge, whatever. Okay, I'm Joe Terosian. I was a sports writer for 21 years, and now I do RamView. Thanks to my sponsors at Kistler Law. Be sure to check them out. And I do RamView, and I write books. And what this allows me to do is sustain myself because my day job is I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene, and right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual. You can check us out, Burbank Faith Virtual. You can check it out on all the platforms, pretty much all the standard gray-haired guy platforms: Twitter, X, Instagram, and of course Facebook, as well as YouTube. My books are on Amazon. Just type in my name. I've written 2 high school football novels. You're going to see 7 of them there. 5 kind of dystopian Christian novels. You can check them out. And but here you go, right there. Thank you for your support. I know folks have been supporting me like that, and I really, really very much appreciate it. As we hit the 16-minute mark, if I'm talking too fast, forgive me. I'm just excited about the show, but I'm also trying to respect your time. Okay. Before we get into the rest of the Ram stuff here, college football, based on what I've seen, I've got my top 8. Okay. I haven't seen every team. I am only basing my top 8 on the teams I've seen, and they get bounced all over the place. So I'm having fun with this. But my number 8 team is Fresno State. You go into Ross-Ade Stadium in West Lafayette and you win at Purdue. It's not that hard, but good for Fresno State, right? They beat a Big Ten team. I was happy for Fresno State, even though I was rooting for Hudson Card and Purdue. See, there's the thing about college football right now. It has fully embraced its role as the minor league for the NFL. I love the transfer portal. I do. I love seeing the Hudson Card, who was caught up in that long jab at Texas. He says, man, I'm not staying here. Bo Nix goes, I'm sick of Auburn. I'm going to go to Oregon and rebuild my college career. Sam Hartman spends 5 years at Wake Forest, and now he goes to Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's wishing if Ron Paulus had only played like Sam Hartman, maybe something special would have happened. But college football is a lot of fun. My question is, after watching Colorado, is when are the whiners going to come out and start complaining? We got to do a snap count on these players because Travis Hunter played 144 snaps. That was a lot of snaps. But sooner or later, right, there's going to be a snap count, right? Someone's going to come in and complain and say, hey, man, we got to do a snap count on these kids, right? Well, these kids are men and they're professionals and they're starting to get paid a little bit like them. Number 8, Fresno State. Number 7, North Carolina, Drake May. Yeah, Drake May's legit. You don't get Caleb Williams, you might be very happy with Drake May, okay? Number 6, Michael Penix. I don't know if Penix is top 10. Number 6 is Washington. I'm just looking at their quarterback, Michael Penix. Love left-handers, but Michael Penix looked great against Boise, and they're 6 for now. I don't think they're going to stay that high, but it was a nice win for them against Boise State. And I think Penix is definitely somewhere between 10 and 20. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. The FSU-LSU game, Florida State-LSU game was great, but as you're watching those quarterbacks, Jordan Travis for the Seminoles and Jaden Daniels for the Tigers, I saw Jaden Daniels when he was at Arizona State. I think he's got all the talent in the world, but there's just something missing. I think he's a backup in the NFL. I know people love him. I don't. I like Jordan Travis's intangibles, but I think he does make mistakes. But I'll leave FSU, Florida State at number 5, Colorado at number 4, and only at 4 because I need to heed the words of the wolf, right? Let's not start getting too excited just yet. But that was a heck of a game against TCU. Yeah, college football is changing, right? And again, Colorado is the example. I think if other schools that do this going forward, you get that charismatic coach in there and draws in the players. I think it's going to flip the landscape of college football on its head. And I think it's cool. I think it's great. I think it hurts the NCAA. I'm sick of the NCAA, the governing body. They did this to themselves. And to me, it's a new world with college football. And Colorado is the poster child of the new world. What was it? 76 came through the transfer portal. And I'll tell you this, Shadur Sanders. I thought there were a couple of things that that wasn't a great play on his part, or that was a bad decision. But you know what? The throws he made were just unbelievable. The talent around him is unbelievable. And here's the thing about Deion Sanders is that I thought at every turn there was some point where the Buffs were going to crack. That okay, TCU came back. They're on the road, and at some point this team's going to crack. And they didn't. And Shadur Sanders was absolutely amazing. Notre Dame, Sam Hartman, they're not going to stay there, but Sam Hartman's playing really good ball. And yeah, if Sam Hartman was playing there in the Lou Holtz days instead of Ron Powlus, maybe they'd have another national title. USC, Caleb wants his mountain. I say give him his mountain. But that Trojan defense needs to lay low. It wants to lay low, and it is going to cost them ultimately. There won't be a national playoff appearance for USC unless they do something about that defense. This defense, well, Nevada this week, but San Jose State last week, they should have pitched a shutout or single-digit games against both those teams if they're truly a national contender. I like USC. I'm rooting for Caleb Williams, but I don't know. And number one, Utah, just for a few more days as the rest of the season kicks in. But I really like Kyle Whittingham. I love that team. I want to see Cam Rising come back. And anytime Utah is high in the rankings, I'm kind of happy for the Utes. All right, let's move on here. There was something I wanted to throw out there. I'm not going to go too heavy into the defense right now, but I did want to mention it because everyone's writing off the Rams. You've got John Johnson and Jordan Fuller as your safeties. That's a really competent combo there. That's not a bad back porch, right? That's a good back porch, all right. And when you realize John Johnson's 27 years old, this is a good back porch. Again, everything's contingent on staying healthy. We understand that, but then you start thinking about Kobe Durant showed a lot last year. If he could stay healthy, the Rams really believe in him. That's a competent corner. Ahkello Witherspoon's a competent corner. And before we start talking Duke Shelley and everyone else, maybe we really need to take a really good look at Trey Tomlinson because that kid competes. And I'm not saying they're going to be great, but I'm saying that's a competent corner room. It's not great, but it's competent. And then Ernest Jones is competent. And then you got Aaron Donald, and that's where things get a little dicey. Ernest Jones at linebacker, but then you're getting Aaron Donald in the front. I think with Aaron Donald in there, that's the best chance we have seeing maybe a Byron Young, Michael Hoyt, and some of these guys do something on the edge because that's the killer. The Rams have nothing on the edge right now. Everything else, I think you can kid yourself a little bit. You can convince yourself. You could talk yourself into, but I can't talk myself out of the Rams edge rush. I just don't know if it's good enough. But with Aaron Donald in there, it becomes just a little bit better. And then after Aaron Donald, the key person I think on this defense for the Rams, I know everyone's going to think I'm crazy, but the key person on this defense for the Rams that I think if he plays well, if he raises his game, it's Bobby Brown. I know it's asking a lot for a guy who's done just a little bit more than nothing in his first 2 years with the team. He did have some nice looks last year, but it's Bobby Brown. If Bobby Brown can raise his game, stuff that run in the middle, take some pressure off of Aaron Donald, and opens up things on the edge, I think Bobby Brown is really the key. And then seeing how is Jonah Williams worth keeping over Marquise Copeland? Is Kobe Turner going to develop into something? Will we see something out of Deshaun Johnson? Will we see anything out of those guys? But it's Bobby Brown. For some reason, I just can't get Bobby Brown. I was laying down the other night. I said, it's Bobby Brown. Okay, as we hit the 24-minute mark here, on this date yesterday, former Rams safety Eddie Meador died at the age of 86. The Rams safety spent all 12 seasons with the Rams from 1959 through 1970. 6 Pro Bowls, 46 picks. We've talked a lot about Eddie Meador here. 163 games, 160 starts. He missed 1 game in his career of the regular season. He was a 7th-round pick out of Arkansas Tech. How's that for a scouting department? 21, and he was Cromwell before Cromwell. He literally was, it's a crime that he was not inducted to the Hall of Fame before he passed away. An absolute crime. And again, I owe it to the fact that the Rams didn't pick off a little more success. 67, 68, 69, those were great teams. And if they could have picked off a playoff win, they could have picked off a Super Bowl appearance, maybe stole one. They had the talent to get there. It would change the little outlook, and I think Eddie Meador would have already been in the Hall of Fame. But tragically, he passed away yesterday at the age of 86. I'm actually Facebook friends with Eddie Meador. We connected a couple times. That's too bad. On this day in 1973, actually, no, on the same day, September 4th, that's yesterday, 1973, the Rams traded cornerback Gene Howard to the Detroit Lions. I know people are thinking, what's the big deal about Gene Howard? Well, Gene Howard was the Rams corner in 71 and 72. And he was just a free agent. You know, he was a journeyman guy, but they traded him to the Lions on September 4th, just before the season was getting ready to start. So he was still competing for a job with the Rams and Chuck Knox's new regime. He picked off 9 passes in 2 seasons for the Rams, right? They traded him for a draft pick. It didn't amount to anything, but they were that close to keeping him. And then the very next day, which I found was interesting, on September 5th, the very next day, they traded Jim Nettles. Now, Jim Nettles was with the Rams for about 4 seasons. He had 11 picks in his last 2 years with the Rams, 16 in his Ram career, 34 in his NFL career overall, and he was waived. And he had played safety for the Rams. And if you think about how late that is, September 5th, the Rams are, very late in the preseason. They're getting close to the start of the 73 season, and they're kicking to the curb. Gene Howard and Jim Nettles, who had been starters in 72, and they're going to dance with Eddie McMillan and the recently traded for Charlie Stukes. And then in the secondary, it's Dave Elmendorf, who had locked up one of the safety spots. They decided to go with Steve Priest, who was acquired mid-August. So a real late revamp of that Rams secondary. I thought it just was interesting that both Gene Howard and Jim Nettles stuck with the Rams for as long as they did. On this date in camp in 73. On this date in 82, Jeff Rutledge was traded to the San Francisco Giants for a 4th-round pick. Love Jeff Rutledge. He did have a nice NFL career, consummate backup. And the Rams got a 4th-round pick for him in the 83 draft. And it was 97th overall. And that pick was Vince Newsom, safety out of Washington. And you parlayed a 3rd-string quarterback for the Rams into a very competent NFL safety for about 9 seasons. Vince Newsom did a really nice job for the Rams. Same day in 1985, on this day, the Rams signed former Falcon fullback, former ELAC fullback, former USC fullback Lynn Kane. He played briefly for the Rams. Remember Lynn Kane? He blocked for Charles White in 78. He had a nice career. And on this day in 1991, the Rams traded Irv Pankey to the Baltimore Colts, the Indianapolis Colts, for a 1992 3rd-round pick, which turned into Mark Boutte, and an 11th-round pick, which turned into Brian Townsend. Boutte had 1 season with the Rams, not much of a career. Brian Townsend had nothing. So wanted to get those things out there. Working on the rest of the Rams season, this would be week 12 that we're going through, looking at the offenses. They're playing the Cardinals in week 12. The Rams aren't going to lose to the Cardinals. If the Rams lose to the Cardinals, people need to be fired. If the Rams don't win by 40, this team needs to be fired. If the Cardinals score more than 21 points against the Rams defense, I'm not talking about a pick six or a scoop and score or a breakdown on special teams, but if the Rams give up 21 points to the Cardinals offense this season, then someone needs to be fired. And the Rams are going to win those games. That's guaranteed 2 wins this year. But it's, again, in the back half of the Rams season. The next week, I'm going to finish this up right now. The next week, the Rams in week 13 would be playing the Browns. I don't think the Browns are very good. The Browns also have a way of self-destructing. That's at SoFi, December 3rd. I think the Rams are going to win that one. The key game in the second half of the season for me is week 14, Rams at Ravens, December 10th. Now, the first 5 weeks of the season, everyone's going to be in love with the Ravens. The Ravens are going to be the hot pick, the chic pick, because everyone's going to be healthy. But we know OBJ's propensity for not staying healthy. We know Lamar Jackson has not played a whole lot in December and January because of his health. It'll be really interesting to see where the Ravens are in December. That game is in Baltimore, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think the Rams, by that time, the defense will have caught fire, and it'll be interesting to see. That game is really a toss-up for me. Week 15, I like Sam Howell. I do like the Taxkins a little bit, but that game's at SoFi, and I see the Rams winning at SoFi against the Taxkins. And week 16, it's at home against the Saints. I don't think the Saints are going to be very good. I think they are an aging defense. I don't think they're too scary in offense. I don't know if they can really keep Derek Carr healthy all season. I see the Rams winning that game. And then where it gets really tricky is week 17 on New Year's Eve, against the New York Giants in the Meadowlands, or whatever this field is called now. I don't know what they play in, somewhere, anywhere where they bury people in the cement. That game, that's a toss-up game for me. And then, of course, week 18 at Levi in Santa Clara, they play the 49ers on January the 7th. And so I could see the Rams getting to a 7-win, 8-win spot as they reach the last week of the season. I could see a high-end 10-win season. I can see an expected 8 to 9-win season, and I see a low-end 7-win season. But it's all going to be good if they're competing, and everyone's going to love it. But we're going to give those other players a chance to develop. And nothing's more exciting than knowing your team can compete. And once you get to the playoffs in this weak NFC, is it not true that anything is possible? 12 years, Sorge. I see his comment there. Steeler fan Rob in Missouri. It's been 12 years. What have the Rams done in 50 years? Well, I can tell you what they've done the last 6 years. They've been to the Super Bowl twice. So do me a favor. Poser Steeler fan, who's really a Cowboy fan in his past, just take care of the 49ers and we'll deal with it. But this Rams team has an opportunity to compete. This Rams team has an opportunity in the weak NFC to compete for a wild card spot. It has an opportunity to make noise if it can get there. Those are a lot of things that have to go right. Everyone has to stay healthy, right? Everyone, the offensive line has to do its job. We understand all those things. But here's the reach scenario that I wanted to share. If the Rams are playing really well, let's say by the time they get to week 14, they've got 8 wins, 9 wins or something. And I know it'll be after the trade deadline, but let's just say things are trending really well. Durant has developed into a frontline corner. THT has developed into a line corner. Byron Young has developed into a competent edge guy, and they're making some noise, and the back porch is healthy. The offensive line is healthy. And this team's about ready to make a run. Would you consider making a deal for your number 1 pick if you could bring in a stud edge guy or a stud playmaker to maybe get the Rams thinking about, wow, it's not just a survival season. Maybe it is a season that we can make some noise in the NFC, maybe get to a conference final, and then have the juice in the salary cap for 2024 to re-sign a guy like Burns or whoever, an edge player, someone great. It'll be interesting to see. So just stuff to think about. I know I kind of went off track here a little bit, but it was a lot of fun talking to you guys. It was a stone groove, and I just want to encourage you. Thank you for clicking on. If you get a chance, please watch the whole show. Hit like, share, subscribe, hit that bell, whatever they talk about. And do me a favor, share the link as we build our footprint here. I want to thank you all for clicking on. I want to thank our sponsors at Kistler Law and Temple City Auto. And thank you guys for having me have a lot of fun talking Ram football. We'll be back tomorrow because tomorrow we're back on schedule. God bless. Take care. Go Rams.